YouTube Developers Live.
自己紹介していただきます。
Oh, Amy Hardy's.
أوصيت السن قاعدة وتويت.
This week, neither one of us are wearing pants.
We have an audience question. How does that affect the way you evaluate potential investments, especially at the seed level?
Welcome back to Google Developers Live at I/O 2013. We're setting up for an exceptional day 2 of interviews. I'm Louis Gray. I'm here with Daniel Sieberg.
Good morning, Louis.
Thank you for
Did you
joining me.
go out last night at all?
Oh, I don't know. I've been working this whole time.
Yeah, I know. It's true.
That's the fun part about being a part of I/O. You get to see the excitement all the developers have come in around the world. A lot of them are getting excited about device giveaways, new product announcements, and parties.
Yeah, absolutely. Last night was After Dark, of course. I heard that Billy Idol showed up.
Billy Idol showed up.
Okay.
DJ Aoki showed up.
Uh-huh.
I was having a little bit of flashbacks to the early 90s when I heard Billy Idol was going to be there, but that's a guy who is really timeless.
He really is. He seems to have aged well somehow. So let's talk a little bit about, yesterday there was so much to digest over the course of the keynote, which...
A 3.5-hour keynote.
Yeah, 3.5 hours. That's a lot of information for anybody to process. And you and I have made about 300 pages of notes on everything that we were hearing throughout the course of the morning.
I think we had enough time yesterday to go through like a page and a half of those notes. I mean, one of the things about a 3.5-hour keynote is we got to be flex. It's the fun of like live TV and live streaming is we got crunched down from our 30 minutes of prep down to like 10.
Yeah.
So we wanted to definitely take time to look at the keynote and hit the big items that were a big summary of the keynote. You had, Vic Condotro was up there. You had Sundar Pichai, Urge. You had some really incredible people who are leading the next generation of information discovery and gadgetry and social and all this. And really some stuff I wanted to get out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk about some of the numbers we heard yesterday too. 48 billion installs.
48 billion.
Google Play. 2.5 billion in the past month alone. 900 million installed Android devices.
And that's more than double from last year. Last year when we were here, we were at 400 million, and I think 100 million in 2011. And so you look at the growth of Android, it's just incredible.
Absolutely, and Sundar has talked too about the potential beyond that. The 5 billion people who are still not connected to the internet around the world, but will be one day.
He put up a slide that looked at the globe, and you could see the number of areas around the world that had less than, I think, 10% penetration of Android. And you think about how do you get internet and mobile devices and all these things that we take for granted to the next 80%.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is an incredible opportunity.
It's really exciting.
I'm glad Google's focused on that.
Yeah, so I'm just going through some of my notes here, but let's talk a little bit about Android, first of all, Android Studio.
Yes.
The development community, I think, really excited about that, almost taking over from Eclipse in some ways.
I saw some interesting feedback. One of the great things about Google Plus is you can see your friends talk about the keynote practically in real time. And one of my friends was talking about it, saying even at a 0.1 release, Android Studio is a significant alternative to Eclipse. He's very excited about that. I watched that get rolled out in the pre-roll in the keynote day before, and it was exceptionally exciting to see how they could take things that traditionally are complex, things like taking an Android app and fitting it across multiple different phone sizes. How do you code for something that not only looks well on a 3.7-inch phone, but like an 8-inch
or a 10-inch even. I mean, the response from people in the audience, I think, kind of said it all. The cheers that came up when people were talking about that cross-platform, cross-device kind of integration, and the demo that was done was fascinating. I mean, to see, and also we should talk about the games services as well that was announced. But to see that ability to play a game across devices like that, as a longtime gamer, was amazing to me.
I think everybody has had that situation where you knock out a high score on your phone, you get home, you open up your Nexus 7, you're like, I don't want to hit this level again.
Yeah.
Like, I know this level, I mean, I could do it again.
I'm sure I
but I
saved
want
it.
to
Why
have
is
that
this
high
happening?
score.
Yep.
And you have to remember like which device you're on. You're like, well, I actually did better on my phone than I did on my tablet.
Right.
I think a lot of that's going away, especially when you tie it into Google Plus and your social graph. You know how your friends are doing, you know how you're doing. And it's really kind of the next generation of multiplayer gaming across devices.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also within that, of course, the all access music service, which I think a lot of people are excited about. The ability not only to stream songs, but to create your own playlists, radio stations essentially, and to upload up to 20,000 songs of your own content to store as well.
What really struck me when the team was talking about that is really kind of a mix and match, best of both worlds. Yeah, we've had the option for a while to have the music locker where you could take all of your tunes, wherever you had them from, and put them into the cloud and access them on any device. But what was really missing was connecting it first to the Google Play Store, which happened last year, so you could tap into that library, and then second, having that streaming option where you can really build a radio based on a song. You know, you hear a fresh track, and you want to hit it and say, what else is going on that I don't have yet?
Yeah, and it's essentially like an infinite playlist. I mean, more music comes in. You can look ahead. I love the interface where you can actually swipe a song out of the way if you want to look ahead and don't want to listen to it.
And we've seen that. You have other streaming services. You're like, gack, like how did that song get in my playlist? And you kind of hit it to go away, and that's good that's there. And that was $9.99 a month, right?
Right, exactly. And although I think you can sign up in advance for $7.99 through to the end of June. So that's a pretty good deal. Yeah. Good. Google Maps, I think, got a lot of attention here, and rightly so. An amazing refresh and redesign to what we now call the classic Google Maps, but is now the new Google Maps. The fact that you're able to get this vector-based, amazing experience. The way that you look at the Maps experience is totally different. I mean, you see the search bar on the top left, you see more of the map itself, the suggestions from your friends on places to go to. All of that, amazing on desktop. We saw it previewed on mobile. Right. Hopefully coming in.
It's also
soon.
part of what, we've been talking about this for 2 years now with Google Plus as the social layer that's improving all the different applications. You look at Maps, and if you have a significant number of reviews, it's really going to impact the way that you display in a map. If you have a place and it's gotten so many reviews and people have given it a certain grade, like through the Zagat scores and all of that, I often find that when I'm traveling, I'm not going to be the expert of restaurants in an area. I often make silly mistakes, like going to a national chain when I get to a new place, when I really could have gone the next level and found something cool. Yeah. And with recommendations from my friends in new places, that's where Maps can really take off and have a difference. I think we've seen a lot of coverage in the last year or two about the importance of getting Maps right. And having Google Maps on every device, be it in your car or on your phone or in your glass, all these different things, it really is a difference maker in making sure you have the right information that gets you there at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked a lot with the Geo folks, and as you know, I mean, they have spent years refining and making these maps more accurate and more useful.
And I that's think not easy.
It's a mammoth task, exactly. And they've done an amazing job. Let's also talk about search, because that has been much more sort of closely integrated in some ways with the Maps experience. And we saw that Amit was up there talking about conversational search.
Yes.
This is something that I think is exciting.
Johanna did a great job up there.
Yep, and the idea that you can actually just talk to your computer essentially and say, okay, Google, ask it what you want without even having to tap on the microphone.
We had Barish come up here yesterday to talk about Google Now, and Google Now has been transformative to find the information that you want, even without you asking. They called it Assist, and go ahead and basically take you to the next level.
Yep.
And you look at that inside your browser, and she did a demo saying, how far is it from here? And when you say how far is it, what is it referring to? How far is here? And it referred to the previous discussion. You're almost having a conversation with your browser. And the demo went off without a hitch and talked about how long it takes to get down to Santa Cruz, like an hour, 21 minutes for 72 miles. And just the idea of talking to your computer, we talked about this yesterday. I know you've got young kids, I've got young kids. And my children really think that they should be able to get any piece of information that they want out of any device at any time, instantly. My daughter's holding up her Nexus 7 and saying, show me videos of sea turtles.
Yeah, it's the on-demand generation, really. I mean, they want it when they want it.
They just expect it. They'll hold up and say, show me pictures of daddy, right? And there's going to come a time where Google understands, oh, this is Sarah talking, and when daddy refers to this guy, and that'll come. I really believe that, and it's kind of fun. They expect it to be there. Yeah. And they should be able to talk to their TV, Google TV at home. They'll pick up the remote and talk to it. And it's really fun to see that develop. And we've gone from a world of, hey, that would be nice, and we saw it on Star Trek, like Amit is talking about, to really realizing that we're living in the future right now.
Yeah, I love that Star Trek analogy, because I think that really resonates with people, especially those of us who grew up watching sci-fi, the fact that you could just interact with it in that very seamless way. I mean, that you find and get what you want very quickly, and then the technology sort of gets out of your way, and you can kind of carry on with what you want to do.
And that's something that's been a big aspect of a lot of Google services lately. You talk about Chrome, and people say, why is it called Chrome? And in design, people often call the stuff around the browser Chrome, be it the navigation bar, the sidebar, the scroll bar. And with Chrome, it was just to get that out of the way and to get the technology in the browser out of your way. And you look at the Pixel, both of us are lucky enough to have Pixels in front of us today, incredible screen resolution, but they said you should never have to see another Pixel. And they're serious about that. And if you can get the Chrome out of the way, you get the Pixel out of the way, there should be nothing standing between you and the information and the people that you want to connect to. immediately.
Yep, exactly. And speaking of the Pixel, I mean, as you mentioned, they're right here in front of us. All of the attendees here got one, which was obviously very exciting for them. They're all floating around here today as people are checking them out and, as you say, discovering that amazing screen resolution.
Sure. And we actually have the team, Chris Lyons and Andrew Bowers, are going to be coming here this afternoon to talk about the Pixel. We are going to do a deep dive. We actually have an incredible lineup for today, which we're going to get to, which goes even further than yesterday, I believe. Not only in the terms of number of sessions, but the incredible people who we're going to have. Everyone from Bradley Horowitz, Vice President on Google+, to Hugo Barra from Android, and Hiroshi Lockheimer, who are just going to do an incredible job, and we'll get to that. But I want to talk a little bit more about the keynote. One of the things that really struck me that Google's been talking about, we see it often because we're internal, right? We get to understand how Google works and see how the different products come together. And it's really an opportunity at I/O for kind of the covers to be pulled back and for the developers and the rest of the world to see how we're thinking and why we're doing what we're doing. How are we moving away from a world where we have many different product areas that possibly ship independently and do their own thing to something that is one Google, and it all comes together. And one of the things I really enjoyed was to really focus on the fact that you should have a unified experience on your mobile device, on your tablet, on your desktop. It really should be no different. And there were a number of things that clearly stuck out to me on that. First, let's start with Google+. Google Plus had a complete redesign of their interface, which is really exciting.
Yeah, I've been messing around with it already. I'm sure you have too. I mean,
absolutely.
It is.
We get to
different.
enjoy some of these things ahead of time, and I enjoy having it on my consumer account now, and be able to see all my photos looking beautiful, to be able to see things that are horizontal take up the entire page, to have really smart hashtags that can discover new information for me that I wasn't even looking for.
Yeah, that's the idea of related hashtags that they talk about, where you can actually, and in the way that the cards will flip around. I mean, within your.
They talked about bringing depth. Today most social networks are flat. You read it from top to bottom, and that's how it is. And the new Google Plus, it really kind of brings another level of depth of field. And the photo experience, the auto enhancement, and the auto awesome is what they call it. It's really incredible. But where I was going with that is Google Plus looks the same on mobile and desktop. It's no longer a situation where you have a mobile team and you have a desktop team, and maybe the mobile device looks even better than the desktop or vice versa, and you wonder which features are on which device. It should all just flow. And so on the mobile device and on the desktop and on the tablet, you have the same rich experience.
Yeah, and within that, as you mentioned, the sort of seamless integration of all of these different services and devices, Hangouts now bringing together all of those different ways of communicating with chat and talk, and so that it is a much more sort of integrated experience. With
and Hangouts is an interesting thing. You mentioned that. You look at text, photos, video. Three totally different things where previously you're always looking at which app. If I'm going to go to photos, I have an app for that. If I'm going to have videos, I'm going to do something else. And what Hangouts has done, it's not just a simple rebranding, it's a whole technology refresh to take the little pieces that we had together in the messaging world and bring them together as one. And so you no longer have to think about maybe this person is on iOS, maybe they're on Android, maybe this does filtering better. It's really all about bringing all the conversation you have in one place across devices. You can see where somebody is in a conversation. This person's right up to here. You can see who's actively typing and engaging in a group chat, and it makes it alive on all of your devices. So I can start a discussion on my Pixel, close it, and then go over to my Android device and really see that come up.
Yeah, and as you know, Hangouts are used by us internally, of course, for meetings all the time. But from a personal standpoint, they're indispensable for me when I'm on the road. You talk about having kids. I think my daughter's growing up understanding that once in a while, Daddy's in the computer, and that ability to kind of do that anywhere, anytime. I've gotten done a mobile Hangout with my daughter. It's really, really cool stuff. So.
Hangouts is really transformative. And what's cool about it, I recently did a trip out to Europe. And silly me, I didn't set up my mobile phone in such a way that I had 4G access. You get there, and good luck, all you got is Wi-Fi. But that was fine. We're living in a world where you don't always need to have that type of voice capability. I went to my computer and fired up a Hangout, and every single day I spoke to my kids face to face. And we had that type of relationship. I did it last night. After we wrapped up here at 7 o'clock, great range of shows, I went back to the hotel, fired up Wi-Fi, and talked to my kids. And I could see them running around making a mess in my office. And really talked to them and said, hey, here's what I'm doing. And they could see me and talk back to me, and I could tell them to shape up and go to bed and do all those things that you do as a parent face to face. And that's really transformative.
It is very powerful. My parents live in Canada, actually. They've actually participated in her birthday parties via Hangout, just sitting and watching and kind of feeling like they're virtually there, which I think is really special for them. So speaking of Google+,
yes,
we are actually right next door to the Google Plus Sandbox.
I think I saw Vic walking around here taking a look at us earlier.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
The team is close.
They're talking a lot about, auto enhance and,
yes.
as you say, auto awesome and the new Hangouts and the new UI and all of that stuff. And so I did get a chance yesterday to talk to some of the partners who were there. There are quite a number of them,
yes.
we should say. But we got a chance to talk to about 4.
And I think today's a big day for Google Plus for GDL at I/O.
Yeah.
I mean, in addition, we're going to talk about the Sandbox and the partners that you spoke with really soon.
Yeah.
But we actually have back-to-back interviews today. Bradley Horowitz is going to be on our stage. I believe that's at 11:45 or 11:55. He's going to come on for a half hour. And then we're going to talk with Seth Sternberg behind Google Plus Sign-In for an additional 20 minutes. So we're going to have a back-to-back session with Google Plus on GDL at I/O. But before that, definitely we want to talk a little bit about those partners that you saw at the Google Plus Sandbox. A unique opportunity here at Google I/O is to bring those developers in around the world and put them in one place. So what is it that they're doing? I mean, Google Plus is still pretty new when it comes to developers tapping into an API, working on sign-in. What did you see when you were there?
I think the Google Plus sign-in aspect was a big part of what they're working on and integrating that into what they already have. Mm-hmm. The partners that I talked to, Fandango, which everybody knows is a movie ticket website, Mashable, which is this great news and information website that covers a lot of different subjects, Boxee, which is a neat way of learning another language, and then Jolie Cloud, which is a way of actually finding and kind of collecting and seeing all of your cloud-based content in one particular interface. So anyway, they've really done some great stuff. I think that they're pushing the envelope in terms of thinking about sign-in, but also Hangouts. I don't want to give anything away as we get into it, but they've really done some amazing stuff.
Cool. So why don't we go ahead and run the video that we recorded yesterday and see what Daniel Sieberg experienced in the Google Plus Sandbox.
Hi there, I'm Daniel Sieberg with Google Developers Live at I/O 2013, and we are at the Google Plus Sandbox to talk to a number of different partners here. We're going to start by talking to these guys. If you can't tell, that's an F for Fandango, and I am joined right now by Jad from Fandango. Jad, welcome. So Fandango people know for movie tickets, but how is it tying into Google Plus on that social experience?
Sure. We just recently launched integration with Google Plus, so let me just walk you through some of the stuff we've done.
Great.
So on the homepage, you can go to a movie page, and from this movie page, you can watch a trailer right here. And by watching that trailer, it records an activity onto your Google Plus stream.
So it shows up on my stream that I've watched the trailer. Okay.
Right. And once you've watched the trailer and decided, oh, this is a good movie, let's go watch the movie, I can click buy tickets. And from there, I can invite my friends. The Metreon's just across the street. So inviting friends is easy as hovering over this and clicking Google Plus. And it'll show my friends what I'm about to watch, and if they want to join me,
and what happens if they click on join me?
They will be able. I'll be able to see that, and we can coordinate our tickets.
I'll show up together.
Buying together, yeah.
Very cool.
So I'll share that, and once that's shared, you can go to your Google Plus stream and refresh this. Actually, it's already shown up there already, so it shows up right in the middle, which is great.
That's great. And so let's talk a little bit about the developer side. What has it been like to work with the Google Plus folks to integrate all of this?
It's been really great. They've really had a lot of ideas for us, and we integrated most of them for the launch today. And all throughout the development process, they've been there lock and step. So we've had a lot of help from them getting all of this done, and we couldn't have done it without them.
And what about the mobile aspect? I assume that you're thinking a lot about people obviously out on their devices.
Yeah, just like they announced in the keynote today that you can have an automatic over-the-air install. So going to here, if my friends see that I'm going to the movies with Fandango, if it's not already on their phone and they interact with me, it will automatically install the Fandango app on their phone.
Great. Jet, thank you so much. I feel like going to watch a movie right now or something.
Hope so.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, now we're on to the letter M, and that's M for Mashable. And I'm joined right now by Robin Peterson, who is the Chief Technology Officer at Mashable. So folks know Mashable as a site to get all sorts of news and information. But from the social standpoint, what are you doing with Google Plus in terms of curating stories and actually acknowledging some of the people who are part of this process?
Sure, so we actually view ourselves as the most social news site on the web. We generate a lot of our stories based upon what's happening in internet culture, right? And a lot of the conversation about internet culture obviously happens on social networks, so it behooves us really to tie our article pages where we tell our stories into the social networks on which they're discussed.
Yep.
So what we did with the integration with Google Plus is, we of course have our Google Plus share button. If a user clicks on this, they can obviously share a story directly from here. So I love this new Google Maps announcement.
Yep.
When I share it through,
so that shows up in their stream.
it'll show up right in their stream. If I follow this person, now I'm actually not the curator anymore, now I'm one of their followers. So I see that person's stream and I say, great, I would love to see this article that they're telling me about. When they click through, they will actually see my name up at the top of the page saying, this is the person who shared it with you. So what we're doing here is we're taking that sharer, that curator, so to speak, and weaving them right into the narrative of the story, making them almost as important as the person who wrote that story.
They're really participating in the whole process.
They really are, they really are.
That's fantastic. All right, now let's move on and talk about Glass.
Sure.
And how Mashable is tying in with that. It's hard to do a demo right now, but you can maybe walk me through
of course.
What that experience is like when a story starts to go viral,
right.
and how somebody wearing Glass, who's got the Mashable glassware, can experience that fact that the story is going viral.
Sure, so about this, thinking back to this summer, we actually released something called Mashable Velocity. And what that is a viral detection engine. So we have crawlers that go out, look at all the activity on social web, bring all that data back, dump it into a predictive engine, and basically tell us what's going viral on the web. When we reduce that down to Mashable stories, now we have a pretty interesting kind of prospect for glassware. So all of the users who are now wearing Glass, if they authenticate with the Mashable glassware, will receive alerts of Mashable stories about 4 hours before they go viral. So they'll be
they're really in the know.
They really are. They really are. They'll know exactly what everyone's going to talk about, before they're talking about it.
And Mashable's been such a great partner with Google Plus, really from the beginning. What has that experience been like? If you could sort of talk me through it.
It's been fantastic for us. We have a lot of followers on Google Plus. I think we have over 2 million people that have +1'd us and really follow our page. We have a very vibrant community that's on Google Plus. So we love doing things like this where we can better engage that community and actually have a little bit of fun on the engineering side as well.
Cool, Robin. Thank you so much for hanging out, if you will. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Daniel.
Moving on to Boxee now, and I'm joined by Sam from Boxee, and maybe the best way to describe Boxee, as far as I understand it, is it's a way for people to learn a language, but through their own sort of interests, and it pushes them in a way that is familiar to them. So help me understand what Boxee is about, first of all.
That's right. So Boxee was founded off the concept that language learning should be contextual. Everybody knows how they learned a language in high school from a boring textbook, not geared towards their specific interests. Boxee wants to teach you a language based on what you're interested in and exactly what your language needs are.
Cool, so here we are on the Boxee site, and how does this tie into Google Plus from a sign-in standpoint?
Sure, so we have an Android app, an iOS app, and a web app, and we want to make sure that friction is as seamless, login and registration is as seamless as possible. If you have an Android phone and you have a computer at home, we want you to be able to log in wherever you are without having to remember all these different passwords. So Google Plus helped us do that. You can go right here and go to our login, and along with our other login options, we have a prominent Google Plus login, which, when clicked on, asks you, okay, would you like to access, would you like our Boxee to access Google? So by doing that and hitting accept, we start along the flow here, and here's actually a great feature of Google Plus, allowing us to do over-the-air installs. So a learner can say, hey, this is available on my Android device, and with the new single sign-on feature that Google introduced today, actually, they'll be able to open up Boxee on their Android device and be logged right in immediately.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So, of course, one of the big features within Google Plus is the ability to do Hangouts, and certainly learning a language is made easier when you can be conversational about it with somebody who knows it really well. So tell me how you're tying in Hangouts with this experience.
Absolutely, yeah. So one of our first interests in Google Plus came from our leverage of Hangouts. So as you said, it's important to have one-on-one time with the teacher, and Boxee enables enables learners to have these one-on-one lessons with teachers, but in order to do that, we needed a great platform to leverage such that you can have that video conference. So we chose Google Hangouts. In order to do that, our users needed to have Google accounts. So all of our learners today, of the millions of Boxee users, can connect their account to Google Plus, such that they can schedule, search for a tutor, schedule a session, and begin learning, one-on-one with the teacher.
That's great. And tell me about the experience of working with the Google Plus development community. I mean, how has that been so far?
It's been a lot of fun. I was lucky enough to attend a boot camp. So Google was nice enough to invite Boxee on site, such that I could work one-on-one with their developers, and really made the experience much more seamless to have that one-on-one action. But to be honest, the documentation worked out pretty well for us. We were able to implement this with only a few weeks' time. So given we're a startup company and we like to move fast, so we needed to do this quickly, and Google definitely worked out for us.
Very cool. I can barely speak English proficiently, so I feel like I need something like this. But
absolutely.
Thank you so much, Sam.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, we finish up here with Jolie Cloud, and I'm joined right now by Tariq from Jolie Cloud, founder and CEO, as I understand it.
Absolutely.
So talk to me a little bit about what Jolie Cloud is, first of all, and then we can get into how it ties into Google+.
Sure. So Jolie Cloud is a company we started 4 years ago with a simple idea. We felt like our life was moving from the computer to the cloud, and it was spread across so many different places. Some of it is now YouTube is the place where I go and watch my videos. I have my content on Drive, I have photos in Picasa, on Instagram, on all these different services. And we felt there was no singular interface to access everything at once. So we built it.
Okay, so talk me through here. You can sign in with Google+.
Absolutely, so here I will just sign in.
Yep.
And as you see, it will automatically see that I have already granted all these different services. And I will be able to go and pretty much remember when we use these computers, the Finder, the availability, so all the services I have here, but I've signed on. Let me go to Google Drive. As you can see, I can browse through my content. I can also access all my content in a very simple way. And if I need to access specific content, I will just go and press and be able to access the content.
And just to be clear, you're not storing any of this content?
We don't store anything.
It's just an interface to access it.
Actually, we take all the APIs from all the different services and we try to make them consistent and beautiful.
Using HTML5, is that
It's all HTML5, absolutely.
Okay.
So one of my favorite services is actually the integration of YouTube, because I can not only have access to all my previous list of content, this is the new Daft Punk video, of course, but if I want to share content, I can actually share it on my favorite site, but also be able to favorite it right away. And now, later tonight, when I want to go and check what I should look at, I can go to the Watch Later section, or probably here, I don't have here, to my favorite section and access to my. So we basically give you access to your music with XFM, SoundCloud, more services are coming soon, to all your different file systems. I can actually go on different services like Box, Dropbox, or Drive, and as you can see, the user interface is consistent. It's really, think about how we used to be on our computers with our own file system. Now we actually translated that into the cloud in a very simple and seamless way.
Great. Well, Tariq, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
This explanation. I really appreciate it. All right, that's going to do it from here at the Google+ Sandbox. I'm Daniel Sieberg with Google Developers Live.